If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Season 13 of Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico. Got a great show for you this evening. Joining me this week on the Coach's Corner panel is my good friend and fellow golf professional, Jon Decker. I'll tell you about him in just a moment. And then this week, we'll be bringing back the travel segment. I'm going to be joined by co-host and travel expert, Robert Kaufman, and he'll be joined tonight as well by our special travel guest, Dustin Irwin, who's the club director of the Omni La Costa Resort and Spa in California. He'll be coming on the travel segment tonight as well. And then tonight's featured guest is Ken Griffin, Director of Golf Sales and Marketing at Boyne Golf up in Michigan. So he'll be joining me on the latter part of the show. Really, really excited to have him on. He's been on before, but he's got a lot of exciting things happening up at Boyne right now. So we're going to get up to speed, if you will, for that. Let me just remind everybody, of course, we're recording on the Riverside.fm network, but if you want to catch all of the podcasts, if you go to youtube.com/at iGolf Sports. That's iGolf Sports is the channel that they're all being featured. Or you can also go to Spotify.com. They're on there as well for both Golf Talk Live and also my Tuesday broadcast, Women of Golf show with my good friend, LPGA professional Cindy Miller. And just a point of interest, Cindy was inducted into the University of Miami Golf Sports Hall of Fame just a few weeks ago, and she is now being inducted into the LPGA Teachers Hall of Fame as well, the Professionals Hall of Fame coming up here as well. So I'm really, really excited for her. So congratulations, Cindy. And also, if you want to listen to the audio broadcast of this or the other show, Women of Golf, you can go to Spreaker.com or basically wherever you listen to podcasts. So make sure you do that. And I'm going to introduce Jon here. We're going to get into discussion. But if you want to get more information on our discussion, if you go to golftipsmag.com and check out the latest instructional post, it's going to be on tonight's topic. And I give you my thoughts and opinions. So I'm going to get Jon's now on the show. So let me introduce Jon. We'll bring him on and we'll get into the Coach's Corner segment. Jon, of course, as I said, is a good friend of mine. He is the director of instruction at the Medallion Club in Columbus, Ohio. He's also a senior contributing editor and top 25 instructor with Golf Tips Magazine. In 2015, he was the Southern Ohio Teacher of the Year, and he's authored 2 books, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, and his most recent one, Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. He's also a host of his own podcast by that same name, Fairways to Heaven, and he's also available for public speaking upon request. So, Jon, welcome back to Coach's Corner here on Golf Talk Live.
Ted, it's great to be with you tonight. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got a great discussion tonight, and as I said, I actually just posted my answers and my thoughts on this in a great post, I think, and under the instructional section up at golftipsmag.com. But we're going to get your thoughts and opinion. So, what I put together was 5 signs that a golfer may be losing confidence, and we're going to go through each of those. And as I said, I put my responses up on the Golf Tips Mag website. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this because this is something that happens a lot. So I'm going to go each one. I'll get your thoughts. I'll give you sort of a general overview of what I'm specifically talking about, and then I'll let you go for it. So the number one is, and again, no particular order, but number one here on our discussion is worrying too much about making mistakes. And what I'm referring to here is, golfers tend to lose a lot of confidence. Maybe they're overly concerned, trying to avoid those bogeys and obviously hitting some bad shots. And it tends to cause them to start feeling a little bit anxious and really unable to focus on the present task at hand or in the present moment. So worrying too much often about mistakes is, I think, a big one for a lot of people to lose their confidence. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Ted, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can lose your confidence on the golf course. But the thing that I'm really trying to emphasize to my students, and this year have made a point to do this. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that I'm now playing competitive golf again, and I'd gotten out of competitive golf. And when you get out of it, you kind of forget, the feelings that you're going to have when you're playing in tournaments. And that is emphasizing your target and not emphasizing swing mechanics. And so what I mean by that is no matter what shot you have, whether it's a putt, a chip, or a driver, you're always making sure that you're having a target and you're swinging to that target. The other thing is your target is not always the flagstick. And so a lot of times if I put the average golfer out into the fairway 100 yards from the green, and there's 3 bunkers and there's a lake, there's going to be anxiety. Even for a seasoned player, you're going to be looking at, I can't go there and I can't go there. And so picking a very conservative target line, and then that allows you to free up and make an aggressive swing. So a lot of times the anxiety about, like you said, not making a mistake, and if you're trying to be perfect in golf, you're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes in golf. And so understanding that if you make your target line conservative, then you can free up and be aggressive. And this is not something that I came up with. This is actually a quote that I heard from Tiger Woods. And Tiger says, I always swing aggressively, but I have a conservative target. And Jack Nicklaus was very famous for that as well. So if you'll focus on the target and not the golf ball. And then the other thing that I've been telling my students this year is that when you're setting up and you're playing, or when you're practicing, you're only allowed to look at the golf ball for 1 second. So if you're going to look at the golf ball for 8 or 10 seconds, you're going to freeze up. So look at the ball and then look at your target. You can look at the target for 2, 3, 4 seconds, but then come back to the ball and then start your swing. And if you'll focus more on where you want the ball to go and less about hitting the ball, you're going to free up and you're going to play to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's really about focusing where, as you said, where you want the ball to go. Too many people are focusing on the ball. They're focusing on swing mechanics. We're going to talk about some of that here shortly, but a lot of people get on to that, and you raised some great points. And it's funny you mentioned both of those players, because I've got a couple things a little bit later on that I'm going to mention as well from both of those. So it's kind of interesting you brought both Nicklaus and Tiger Woods up. But yeah, those are great points, because again, everybody, it doesn't matter whether you're a seasoned pro or somebody that's just playing for the first time. We're all a little bit nervous out there, and when you start making mistakes, it's very easy to fall into that trap, and the old mental game starts to get diminished and so forth. So yeah, it's very, very, so we're all going to make mistakes. It's how you deal with those mistakes that really makes the difference of a good round or a bad round. Brings us to number 2. And we've all had the pre-round jitters that don't seem to go away. Anxiety and a tight feeling that persists, even beyond the first hole, can indicate a loss of confidence as well, and an inability to relax and trust the game. So it's not just sometimes stepping up to the first tee. I mean, that's a knee knocker for most people. Even the pros will admit that that's a little bit nerve wracking starting that fresh round. But even sometimes 2-3 holes in, a lot of players still have some anxiety because they're not sure how the round's going to go, and especially if they've hit some bad shots to get things started off on a positive track. So what are your thoughts here? What are some of your things that you try to do to help them overcome some of those pre-round jitters?
Well, first of all, I let all my students know that if you're not nervous before a tournament, that means you're probably not human, or you just don't care. And so I want my students to obviously care that they're in a tournament, that you don't just sign up to a tournament just to play in a tournament. So obviously it means something, and so it's normal. It's normal. Everyone's nervous. Even the people that look calm, cool, and collective, the inside, their stomach's churning and they're a little bit nervous. Okay. So that's normal. The second thing is this is not life or death. So if you go out and have a bad day, it's not like the whole world is going to think that you're a terrible player. Right. Because most golfers in tournaments, they don't care what you're shooting. They care what they're shooting. So just focus on your game and don't get worried about the other distractions of what other people are doing and what other people are going to think about you. But it's interesting that you brought this up because I had a guest on my show this week. Her name is Maddie Schultz. She plays at Youngstown State University, and she actually just majored in psychology. And we were talking about this, and her coach actually works with them a lot on the mental aspects of the game. And one of the exercises that they try to do is when they're playing, and keep in mind, when you're playing in collegiate golf tournaments, a lot of times you're playing 36 holes in one day. That's a lot of golf. And so you can't be just razor focused for 36 holes. There's no one can humanly do that. So you have to know how to kind of turn your mind on and off. And so what she likes to do is she likes to like notice things in nature. I mean, we're all outside on a beautiful golf course, and this is supposed to be a leisure activity. There's nothing wrong with just looking off at nature or doing something, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, whether it's a conversation, lighthearted conversation with those that you're playing with. It's things that will distract you a little bit, and after you've hit your shots and you're maybe waiting on a group ahead of you, or you're walking down the fairways or riding in a golf cart with someone, conversation, things like that, to be loose. If you're trying to be just stoic and you're not going to have any way to get those nerves out, you're going to just explode inside. And so it's good to do those things. Lee Trevino, what he would do, he had a lot of nervous energy. He would just talk. And Phil Rogers told me a funny story. And actually, this is not from Phil. This is one of the famous quotes. Is right. I think it was in 1971. Nicklaus and Lee Trevino were paired together. And Nicklaus said to him before the round, he's like, Lee, I don't really want to talk today. I'm going to be focused on golf. And Lee said, don't worry. You don't have to talk. I'll do all the talking. You can just listen. And so I think that Lee Trevino is just a type person that he had to talk. That was the way he got rid of his energy. So we all have to have ways that we can get rid of that nervous energy. And I think if you can do that, it definitely helps you to relax.
Yeah, and Lee must have had a lot of nervous energy because he talked a lot out there. But then I think after a while, as he became a more seasoned player, I think that was just his thing. Yeah. And he also discovered it was a way of throwing others off, because Nicklaus used to complain sometimes. I mean, not really hard, but he used to say that it was a distraction for him because he was a very mentally focused player. But I look at this way, as I said, even not just stepping up to the first tee, but even sometimes when you're trying to get a few holes under your belt. I think one of the other things too that causes a lot of sort of that nervousness and is a lack of preparation. And I'm always a firm believer. I think that if you prepare well, and that means when you're hitting the practice range, you want to go there with a sense of purpose. And maybe some of the things that you might want to do, and we've talked about this before as well, is you might want to go out and visualize. If you're maybe playing on the weekend and it's Wednesday and you're thinking, okay, I've got a couple of days here, I'm going to go out to the range and I'm going to visualize the holes that I'm going to be playing. And, you don't have to do them all, but maybe you pick the first 3 or 4 and you say, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm playing those holes. I'm going to visualize it out in the range, and I'm going to pick the clubs that I'm going to use on each of those holes. And I'm going to mimic, obviously I can't putt, but I can mimic the longer shots, and then I can go to the practice putting green after and work on some of the putts, make some imagine maybe this one was a 20-foot putt, maybe this one was a 10-foot putt, and practice those things. And give yourself a sense of accomplishment, because what that does is it builds confidence. Same thing with the warm-up routine. It's not going to be as long, but if you're going there and you show up 30 minutes early, again, practice what you're going to be playing. Pretend that you're playing some of those holes. And certainly you want to loosen up and things, and you definitely want to be stretching and loosening up those tense muscles. That's going to help as well. But I think if you have a sense of purpose, if you practice with purpose when you go to the range, whether it's for a full practice session, either on your own or with your coach, or you're just warming up before a round, if you visualize what it is that you're doing, as you said earlier, focusing on the target as opposed to worrying about swing mechanics, there's a time and place to do that, but not when you're getting ready to play in a tournament or you're getting ready to play golf, in a couple of days or even maybe later that day. So let's focus on making some good strokes and making some good shots here, but put it in perspective as to what you're going to be faced with out in the golf course. There's no sense in hitting shots that you're not going to be faced with. They're not all going to be perfect lies. You're going to have some bad lies too, and you got to work on those. But great answer, Jon, and you hit a lot of excellent points as well. The other one is losing confidence after a single bad shot. This is a big one because, obviously we can have a bad hole and certainly even a bad round, but sometimes even just one shot can be enough to derail. So if a single bad shot or score quickly erodes some of that confidence and starts to lead to a frustration, then it starts to suggest a struggle with maintaining a positive mindset. So this starts to creep in. We've seen that. Oh, I hit that bad shot. I have a specific method that I like to do to help golfers, but I want to hear what your thoughts are. So you hit a bad shot. What do you do from here on?
This is a great. I literally wrote a whole book about this. Right. Fairways to Heaven, one shot at a time. I wanted to show how golf is one shot at a time, and you live your life one day at a time and one moment at a time. I went to Orlando during the PGA show and took a lesson with my old teacher, Fred Griffin. And it was a rainy day. Unfortunately, we were able to get the lesson in, but we were sitting there at lunch talking. And I was talking to him about the struggles because I was trying to play competitively again, and the struggles I was having in quieting my mind and dealing with poor shots. And he told me that what he has all of his students do is when they hit a shot, whether it doesn't matter whether they hit the best shot or they hit the worst shot of the day. After you hit a shot, if you hit a good shot, you tell yourself, that's it. That's the swing that I want to make, that drive that on the first hole. You hit it right down the middle. That's the swing I want to make. Well, let's say you get up there and you don't hit a good drive. So as soon as you get done, or as soon as you hit your shot, you hit a bad drive, you kind of move over to the side. Now the other person's hitting, and then you try to mimic exactly what it is that you want to do. Don't get wrapped up in, I did this wrong or I did that wrong. Tell yourself what you want to do and say, that's it, and then you go to the next one. So no matter whether you hit a good shot or a bad shot, you leave that shot behind knowing that you know exactly what it is that you want to do. Now, if you don't know what you want to do and you're hitting bad shots, you need to go seek a golf professional because every player needs a teacher, in my opinion, even the players at the highest levels. Mm-hmm. And we can't all see ourselves. We can't see ourselves on the golf course. A trained eye, that someone that can look at your golf swing and say, this is what you want to do, so that when you do hit that bad shot, you know exactly what it is that you need to do. You can tell yourself, okay, I did this wrong, but this is what I need to do. That's it. Now I'm going to move on to the next shot. I think that's a great way to mentally play on the golf course because you're going to hit bad shots. If you think you're going to go out, even on your best day, you're still going to hit bad shots. You have to know what to do to nip it in the bud so it doesn't happen again. And I think those mental exercises are important. I've also heard like Butch Harmon, he will tell his students, you're allowed 5 steps after you hit a bad shot. And after that, you got to let it go. So you can, if you want to get mad and if you want to say whatever it is you want to say or get, frustrations out for 5 steps. And then after that, you've got to move on to the next shot. So there's a lot of different ways. It's a lot easier said than done, but you have to learn this skill. I don't care what level you're playing at. You have to learn this skill. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I look at it this way, and this is some of what I talked about in the article. And you look at it, so you hit a bad shot. Well, who hasn't, right? We all hit bad shots. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the round is over. And it just means you hit a bad shot. Let's just call it what it is. And what I like to do is I like to encourage students, especially when I was working with a lot of my corporate golfers, because they tend to analyze, they're very analytic and very specific because they're trying to solve issues in the boardroom. And I'd say when you're at the golf course, when you're playing a round of golf, stick that bad shot in the back of your mind and let's analyze it post-round. Let's continue on. Let's focus on the task at hand, and let's put that in a private box and say we're going to get to that after the round. We can talk about it, in a lesson and analyze what went wrong. And I'm like you. I think what's important is you have to. I think what happens is when you hit a bad shot like that is you you all of a sudden have sort of some bad or negative energy, and you need to get rid of it. And obviously on a golf course, you can't be yelling and screaming, whipping clubs and things like that. But, the 5-step rule or some other way of expelling that negative energy and then reinforcing it very quickly with something positive. Maybe you hit a great shot on the last tee. Put that in your mindset and say, you know what? Yeah, I hit a bad shot here. I'm not happy about it, but you know what? I'm still okay. I've got an opportunity here, and I'm going to be thinking about that great shot that I just hit on the last hole that really went well. I got on the green in 2. I'm really excited about that, and enter some positive, start absorbing that positive energy, if you will. But you have to be able to learn from your mistakes, but you need to be able to put it in the past and not keep dredging it up throughout the round. Because if every time you hit a bad shot, you start thinking, oh God, that happened on hole number 2. Remember that? It's like a broken record, just playing it, skipping all the time. So that shot is gone. Learn from it and move on. And I think that's the best way, as what you said as well, is just to be able to do that, because we're all going to hit a bad shot. I don't care. Even the best players. We saw that at the Masters this year with Bryson DeChambeau on, I think it was hole number 11. Ended up going into the pond. So, they hit bad shots too. And unfortunately, theirs cost a lot more money but than what ours do, but it's still nevertheless. So, but great answers. So, again, losing confidence after a single bad shot, that's one as well. And I think focus, you touched on this earlier, and I wanted to get into this because I think this is important. I think focusing excessively on the technique or how to make the perfect swing. I don't know how many times I see people rehearsing, and in a full-blown practice session, okay, you can focus, or when you're working with your coach, you can focus on some technique if there's things that need to be worked on. But when you're up there just practicing, if you're constantly focusing, then you get out in the golf course and you're worried about, well, is my elbow coming in right, or is my wrist right? And you're focusing on that all the time, then you're over-controlling the swing. And then you're not really thinking about the target, as you suggested earlier. So let's talk about that. That's a big one, I think, for a lot of people for losing confidence.
I have my students I tell them when you're practicing, especially when you're working on new, and a lot of, sometimes they might be totally new players. So they're going to have a lot of technical thoughts. They're learning how to hold the club for the first time. But I always tell them, I want you to hit 5 balls where you're focusing on the technique. And then I want you to hit 5 balls where you're only focusing on the target. And then go back and forth so that you're productively maximizing your practice time. Because if I give someone some technical work to work on, for example, a drill, if I give a student a drill, I expect them to do the drill during their practice sessions, not on the golf course, but during their practice sessions. Otherwise, they're not going to get any better. And we'll just be, rinse and repeat. We'll be doing the same thing the next lesson. So the students that I have, I don't want them to just go and all they do is focus on their golf swing, because I want them to play golf as well. So if you will do the 5, and it doesn't have to be 5 balls. It could be 3 balls. It could be 10 balls. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that you commit, okay, on these 5 balls, I'm going to do this drill that Jon gave me. And I'm going to just focus on the drill. I'm not going to worry about where the ball goes. I'm just going to focus on the drill. And now I'm going to hit 5 balls as if I'm in the Saturday, pot game, and we're playing for $5 Nassau. And I'm going to pretend I'm hitting a shot at a target. And then for these 5 balls, I'm going to do that. If you go back and forth like that, I think to me that makes practice a lot more fun than just standing there doing the same thing over and over again and maybe not seeing good results.
Yeah, the old saying, variety is spice of life.
Yeah.
And again, you got to make it fun. And that's why, I said earlier in the discussion about imagining that you're playing some of the holes that you might be faced with. And you don't even necessarily have to play the first, 5 holes. You can maybe play the first couple, and then maybe there's a couple on the back that offer a little bit of a challenge. So be creative. Say, okay, well, this par 3 that's going over water is a little bit challenging for me. And how can I approach this differently? Well, I noticed that there's a bigger landing area. If I hit it to the right a little bit more, there's more forgiveness on the green. So instead of trying to go over, now sometimes you obviously have to go over water, but the path to less resistance sometimes is the best route. So if there's a big body of water that's more to the left and the pin's cut over there, well, that's not a good option. So maybe I need to, not necessarily lay up, but maybe move it right a little bit and hit the fat part of the green where I'm going to give myself a chance. Even if I come away with par, it's a lot better than hitting it in the drink. So there's another old saying, if you've been around golf for any length of time, and that is drive for show and putt for dough. And I talk about this in the article as well, in my points as I answer the different questions. And, there's a good reason for it. Everybody likes to bomb their drives, down the fairway. It looks great. But most amateurs really lack, I think, the skills to do that consistently. So they're, 1 minute they're maybe hitting one in the fairway, the next they're left, and then they're right, and then they're this and that. And so they're not very consistent. And there's really not that many drives that you're going to be faced with in a round of golf, but you are going to be hitting a lot of pitch shots, a lot of chipping, and a lot of putting. And so I like to say to, work on the short game, get more proficient on the short game. So if you hit a bad drive, you can recover. That's what Tiger did. I mean, when Tiger first came out on tour, he get a long way, but he was sometimes in the next fairway or sometimes in the rough, but he had incredible recovery and hit some amazing shots. I still remember one he hit in the Buick Open, that he was in the rough and had some trees, and he ended up this big old slice and, was 10 feet from the hole. And, people were like, wow. And he was 180 yards or 190 yards. I forget now what it was, but, it was with an iron. He cut it. But he worked on those shots, and he worked on, the short game. So I think that's another way to really help build your confidence when you feel that things, are moving in a bad way. And especially, again, to stand there and be constantly worried about how good your swing looks. I don't know. I mean, in my way of thinking is there really is no perfect golf swing. There's a lot of really good looking golf swings, but there isn't. There's maybe a perfect swing for you, and there may be a perfect swing for me based on our body types. But other than that, there's no perfect golf swing. And if you try to pursue that, and there's a lot of guys, I can think of a few off the top of my head. Nick Faldo was like that very early in his career, trying to go for the perfect swing. And it served him well to a point, but then after a while, he wanted to keep pushing it up. And eventually, he sort of fell away to the wayside. Another one was, trying to think.
Well, you could put Tiger in that category.
Yeah,
Tiger was jumping around for all these coaches, and I kept thinking, why? You're the number one player in the world. Why do you need to keep changing your coaches? I never understood that. I think he was so talented and so good that he chased perfection, and I think it was a little bit of a detriment. Who knows? I think he could have passed Jack's record because he had a lot of. When you start changing your golf swing at that level, you don't just do that in a couple of lessons. That's a huge commitment. So I was shocked by that. I mean, but he won 15 majors. Yeah, I didn't understand it. But.
No, I didn't understand that either. And again, I think though sometimes, and again, we're not in their heads, but I remember, Nicholas tried to change. He hit that fade famously for years, and somebody that he decided to change things up. He was looking for a little more distance again. He tried to start drawing the ball. And he tried that for a season. It just was disastrous. And he went back, and started hitting the shot his bread and butter, and winning a bunch more tournaments. In fact, I think he had done that before he won the '86 Masters. So obviously it was a smart move coming back. But it's something that again, that pursuit of perfection. Luke Donald comes to mind. Another one. I mean, he's got a great looking swing. But when you look at it and you peel back the layers of the onion, how many tournaments has he won compared to many others? Look at Lee Trevino, as you mentioned earlier. His wonky looking swing. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Luke Donald played well today. He's
good. I'm glad. Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. But not saying it failed him, but he wanted to be a really good ball striker, and he certainly accomplished that. But for a long time, he struggled putting those shots together and winning tournaments. And, you haven't heard him in the leaderboard for a long time. So I'm glad to hear that's positive. So maybe talking about him is going to help him propel in the next round. So, but the last point here is getting easily frustrated or playing cautiously. And so frustration when not playing to expectations or a tendency to protect a score when things are going well can suggest a lack of confidence and a fear of losing. So this is a big one as well. Give me your thoughts, and then I'll conclude with my thoughts as well.
Well, I mean, it's tough. There's no one answer for that because, if a person has a 250-yard shot over water, I want them to play conservatively. I want them to play the smart shot. But what I tell every one of my students is you're not always going to know whether you hit the right shot, and you're not always going to know whether you hit, when it's over, whether it's right or wrong. But I want you to commit to that shot. I would rather you play the wrong shot and be fully committed than to play the correct shot and not be committed. And so that is what's important, is commitment to the shot that you're hitting, and then weighing the odds. Is it a shot that's, over water with the wind in my face and it's stretching this club to its maximum? No, that's not the time to hit that shot. That's where I would rather you lay back to a yardage and knock it, be smart, or play around the trouble and try to, play to a bailout area. So I think the commitment part is important, because I've done this where I stand over a shot and I'm not committed. And so there's been, a great way to do this is, and I'm not positive, I can't remember if it's a half a shot or a quarter shot, but they've done research on this. And every time you hit a shot on the golf course, you just ask, I don't care if you hit it right down the middle or if you hit it in the trees, you ask yourself, was I committed to that shot? And if you were committed to the shot, that's good. If you were not committed to the shot, you put a little check on your scorecard. And at the end of the day, each one of those checks is worth either a quarter or a half of a shot. And if you look down and go, oh my gosh, I've got 12 checks, my goodness, you're talking 3, 4, 5 shots that you're costing yourself, not because your swing wasn't right, because you weren't committed. And if you're not committed, your brain just doesn't work that way. Your brain, it is very specific. Like, I tell myself I'm going to do something, my brain will tell my body to do it. But if I'm telling myself, my body, if I'm holding a 5-iron in my hand and I'm hitting a shot that I know I'm not capable of hitting, there's going to be the marriage between my mind and body is not going to be there. So I think commitment in the mind of what you're trying to do first, you make that decision first of what you're going to do. And then you have to tell your body, this is the swing that we're going to make to hit this shot. And then you have to have that marriage of the commitment and the swing. But if you don't have that marriage, it's not going to work. You've got to have the commitment first, and then feel the swing, and then do it. And then you have to accept. You can do all of those things and then make a bad swing like you talked about earlier, and you accept. And I don't have a problem if I say to myself, I committed to the shot, I hit the shot that I wanted to, I tried to hit the shot I wanted to hit, and I made a bad swing. I just chalk that up as a bad swing. I don't give myself an X because I did commit. And that to me is the most important thing that great players have the ability to do, is stay in the moment and commit to the shot they're hitting, and then just accept whatever happens and go with it.
Yeah, well said. And I look at it this way too, Jon, is, at some point when you've become a confident player, you can lose it just as easily, as it comes. And a lot of times players will bring emotions. They can often get the best of us. We get frustrated, anxiety builds. And one of the mistakes that I've seen with a lot of, pretty good players is when they've, had a bad shot, bad hole, bad round, whatever, is they start to change the way they play. And what I mean by that is a player who maybe typically, likes to fire, is a little bit more aggressive, likes to fire at the pins a lot, and that's, for them to decide what's good or bad for them. All of a sudden, because they've had a few bad holes, gets a little squeamish. So they start pulling back and they get too conservative. Now, I'm not saying, it shouldn't, as you pointed out, be a little bit more conservative, but there's a time and a place. But if you're somebody that typically plays a more aggressive game and you all of a sudden start pulling back the reins too much, then you get out of your own natural rhythm. And then you start to struggle and other things start to fall apart. And conversely, the same thing happens that, somebody that maybe tends to be a more conservative player starts having a bad round. All of a sudden they're thinking, oh boy, I've lost a few strokes here. Now I've got to start playing more aggressively in order to catch up and to get those strokes back. Now all of a sudden they're firing at or hitting shots that they're normally not equipped to handle, hitting over that water or hitting around, trees a little bit more aggressively or whatever the case is. Now all of a sudden they're out of their rhythm as well. So I'm a firm believer is you have to stick to your game, play your game, and don't try to change who you are. You can certainly adjust and adapt within reason, but you can't sort of do a 180. So again, if you're a more aggressive type player, it's okay. It's a bad hole. It's a bad, couple of shots, what have you. You got to stick to your game plan. However you come into that tournament or however you come into that game, you got to stick with it. And if you start making drastic changes like that, then you're going to, get in a situation where now you're not playing your game anymore. You're playing to your fears and your anxieties. And, you never saw Nicholas change his game mid-round, as an example. When things weren't going his way, not likely it happened. And so really, why should you? And, sometimes you just need to stay the course and play the way you always have. And I think a lot of times making drastic changes like that can turn something small typically into something worse. And I just want to add in conclusion to that, because I mentioned about Tiger as well. Tiger Woods often said, and I used to laugh when I would hear him say it, and a lot of people, he'd say in his interviews, I didn't play my A game today, but I'm happy with the results. I'm paraphrasing, and you sometimes would word it differently. And if he was one of the best players in the world, arguably, along with Jack, and that's what they were assessing from their own game, then why shouldn't you? What makes you think you're going to be any better or any different? So sometimes it's not the game that needs to be changed. Sometimes it's just the attitude as well. So if you're coming in with a positive attitude, and even if you have some stumbles along the way, put those issues behind you, deal with them at a later time when it's appropriate, and let's keep our mind in the game right now and do the best we can moving forward and forget about the past until we get off the course. Then you can address some of the issues that may be needed to be addressed. But I think that's a good way to look at it. And I think that those 5 tend to be very common issues that a lot of people have when they lose confidence. And if you want to regain that confidence, then you have to do some of the things that we talked about. Because, and again, it's a journey. It took you a while to build that confidence up, and all of a sudden you lost it, maybe in a few rounds or a fefew holes. You can't just snap your fingers and it's back. Sometimes it takes a little bit of extra work, whether it's practicing with a purpose, whether it's, not over analyzing your swing and just focusing on the target more. There's a lot of different things that we talked about, but it's very easy to regain your confidence if you're willing to put a little effort into it. And I think that's really what most people need to do.
Well said.
What are your final thoughts on that? I think, I think it's pretty straightforward, don't you?
Yes. I liked what you said about having a plan before you go out there. When I was playing a lot of competitive golf, I would, in my mind, the day before, the night before the tournament, I would just visualize how I wanted to play every single hole. This is what I'm going to use a driver here. I'm going to use a 3-wood here. I'm going to use a hybrid here, whatever. And I'm going to try to, I could see my target. I had an idea. Usually you have an idea where the pins are going to be. Tournament pins are going to be usually a little different than regular pins. And so you visualize that. And then when you go out and play, obviously things don't go always exactly the way you want them to go. Then you have to have the ability to make choices and adapt at times. Right. Maybe the weather's a lot different than you expected, or maybe you're hitting the ball not as well. Maybe you're hitting a shot that you don't normally hit, and you have to have the ability to play with what you have at that moment and get through the round, and rely on your short game if that's the case. If you're clicking, then you can just stick to the plan and you don't vary. And you also, when you're playing well, you don't want to start changing your plan. Like if your plan going into the tournament was, I'm going to play that par 5 as a 3-shot hole because I really can't get there. And let's say you're really playing well. Don't say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try to play this as a 2-shot hole today. Yeah. I don't think that's smart, because that wasn't in your plan to begin with. And you need to stick with the plan, because Zach Johnson won a green jacket and he never went for 1 par 5 in 4 days. Yeah. So if your plan was to play it as a 3-shot hole, stick to your plan. And I think that's important.
Yeah. If you vary, that's kind of what I was getting to earlier as well. If you start to vary things too much, then you get out of sync and you get out of your plan. And we see it a lot where players are leading a tournament, and then all of a sudden they get faced with a situation. They decide, I'm going to go for it now, instead of maybe laying up, which I was in my game plan. Now, all of a sudden, if they don't get the shot off the way they want it, now all of a sudden they're scrambling and it throws them off their game. And then the next hole comes along, they're doing the same thing. And we've seen a lot of players lose the lead that way on Sunday. So it's not a smart way to go into a golf tournament. You go in with the game plan, you either win or you lose, and it's a hit or miss in that situation. And to start messing around with things like that. But great discussion. And again, as I mentioned, this topic was something that I put together in a great post up on golftipsmag.com. So if you want to go and see that, go to golftipsmag.com, and under instruction, you'll see that there right on the front page. And you can't miss it. It's got a golfer looking into the sunset, and there's an explanation for that as well in the lead up into the story. But go and check it out at golftipsmag.com. John, as always, thank you very much for coming on and doing Coach's Corner. And I'm going to give you a moment or two, if you want, just to let the folks know if they want to reach out to you and how they can listen to your podcast as well.
Well, Ted, first of all, as always, thank you for having me on. Thank you for this platform. This new video part is really taking it to another level. And congratulations on all the success with the magazine. And, now with the video format and the website, everything's going really well. So I'm really happy for you. For the listeners out there, if you want to reach me, the best way is to go to my website, deckergolf.com. All of my content information is on there. I have videos on full swing, putting, chipping, pitching, bunker, all aspects of the game. They're all housed under the umbrella where you're going to get a consistent message. I also have information on there about my 2 books that I've written. I'm a Christian author, so my first book was Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game. And the second book is Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. So those books are on there as well. I have a Bible study as well. I have 16 churches that have participated in that. And I'm really excited about the Bible study. That information is on the website as well. And then I have a new show. It's called Fairways to Heaven. And it's on Bold Brave TV. So it's a simulcast. So it is on television, but it's also on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel, which is Jon Decker Golf Instruction, or you can find it on deckergolf.com as well. All of my shows are housed there as well. So I'm going to have you again, Ted. You've been on as a guest a couple of times, and you're going to be coming up again. So I'm really excited to have you on, and thank you again for all your support with this new venture. And your job is a lot more difficult than my job. Hosting the show is a lot more difficult than being the guest, because there's a lot of prep work, and you do a great job. You make it look a lot easier than I do.
Well, you know what? I've been doing this a long time, and as I said to you many times in the past, I'm never afraid of competition. I think it's great. I think the more that do that, but it is a lot of work. And I always, when people ask me and say, I thought about doing this, and I always ask them a few questions, and I did that to you, and obviously you answered them well, and you've answered the call, and I'm excited to be on your show. I think I'm going to be on next Wednesday, I believe, for the 21st. So I'm looking forward to that. And we had a good time the first 2 times I was on, and I'm glad to be, and welcome to come back anytime and offer whatever words of wisdom I can to your audience. But congratulations on all your success as well in both books. And I'm excited for that as well. But John, thank you. And I will talk to you on Wednesday.
All right, Ted. Have a great day.
You too. Stay with me, and we'll be right back. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And when I come back, we'll be starting our travel segment for the evening. My good friend, Robert Kaufman, will be joining us, as well as our special travel guest for the evening. So be right back.
Improve your putting with the Alignment Ball Marker, a revolutionary new in-game putting alignment tool and ball marker. Its patented design allows you to read your putt and adjust your alignment at the same time by using your putter, which improves your accuracy and makes the process of putting faster. 100% legal according to the USGA, by their definition, permitted under the rules of golf. Winner of Best New Product at the PGA Show, and only $9.99 on Amazon. And it's also completely customizable for any golf event or as a promotional giveaway. Order at alignmentballmark.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And tonight we're going to start our travel segment. Let me introduce the gang, and then I'm going to actually leave the room, as it were, for a little bit and let these 2 guys, my guests tonight, actually talk about our travel segment. First up, of course, is my co-host and travel expert, Robert Kaufman. He's an award-winning photographer and golf travel writer, golf media consultant. He's worked with a number of great publications such as Troon Golf and Travel Magazine, PGA Magazine, of course, Golf Tips Magazine, along with a host of others. And if you want to see more of his great work, you can visit his website, pictureperfect.com. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later on. Our special travel guest tonight is Dustin Irwin. He is the club director for Omni La Costa Resort and Spa. And he was born and raised in Wisconsin. His first job, of course, in golf was as a caddy at age 13. at Pine Hills Country Club. He attended Ferris State University and majored in marketing and professional golf management. He's been a PGA Class A member since 2003, and after graduating, he worked for about 10 years for the Ritz-Carlton Marriott Golf at properties in Jamaica, Jupiter, Orlando, Grand Cayman, Atlanta, and Tucson. And he was 3 years in Maui working at Kapalua in sales and marketing for Troon Golf. So both of you, Robert and Dustin, welcome to the show, and glad that you're both able to reschedule for tonight from our earlier attempt to do this broadcast. So, Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to, I think, disappear for a little while, and then you can just let me know when I.
All right. Sounds good, Ted. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Dustin,
Hi, Robert.
how's life down there, huh? Sunny San Diego?
It's pretty sunny.
I'd like to be trading places with you.
Yeah, it's a great place
probably
to be.
about 364 days out of the year, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't rain much. Yeah, as you know, we're known for our weather.
Yes, you are. Yeah, it's a good spot to be. You've had a nice road in your career to get to where you are.
It's been a lot. You know, I gypsy life for about 15 years, but it was a lot of fun, and I just actually celebrated my 8th year anniversary at La Costa, and I hope to be here for a long time. It's a wonderful place, and I love coming to work every day.
That's awesome. Well, I remember from my brief visit down there. I mean, I love staying at the resort, and one of the great things about it is you just practically roll out of bed onto the first tee. So it's pretty nice having that right outside your back door.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're hosting the NCAAs right now. That's one of the best features that the players love, is being able to stay on site and, just kind of get in their element and not have to take a shuttle. So yeah, it's a wonderful setup here.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that. I want to hear more about that. But first I want to get from you, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of talk a little bit about, obviously the location where La Costa Resort is at, and a little bit of the history, because it does have quite a bit of history, especially with the PGA Tour. When they came on board and so on and so forth. And the courses have been gone through some transformations over the years since 1966, I believe they were introduced.
Yeah, you're close. It's actually this is our diamond anniversary. So we were established in 1965, and this is our 60-year anniversary. So it's a really special year for us. And as you said, rich tournament history at La Costa with over 35 PGA Tour events. Starting with the Tournament of Champions, and moved into the Accenture Match Play Championship. Had a couple Kia Classics towards the end of La Costa's professional tournament run. And then, we just started up with the NCAA National Championships. Last year was our first year. So we're in year 2 of 5. And, there's a good chance and a push that we become the permanent home of the championships, which would be something really special.
Wow. Yeah. So back in the day, with the club hosting the Tournament of Champions, I mean, that was one of those sought after destinations for the PGA Tour players. I mean, now it's Kapalua, but back in the day, it was Carlsbad, California. They all wanted to come here, win an event on the tour, and then find their way there in January for the tournament TOC. So
yeah, it was in January. When the West Coast swing comes through California, it's not typically our best weather, but I think the players really just love the campus style of this resort, and again, being able to walk out of your room and walk to the range in 5 minutes, and we've got world-class amenities, dining, a world-class spa, and we pride ourselves on the hospitality we provide, and we have an amazing staff here. That's we've got employees that have been here for 50 years, which is really a testament to the culture that La Costa has. And I always like to say, like, the first time my mom ever stayed at La Costa, and she stayed at some nice places, like when I worked for Ritz-Carlton, she stayed at many of the hotels. And the thing that stuck with me the most, she said, La Costa is the most comfortable place I've ever been. And, I think that says a lot. Like, it's warm, relaxed, refined, but it's laid back. And that's what I think is what makes it so special. It's the people.
No, for sure. And I got that vibe instantly when I was down there. I mean, the hospitality from your staff, and like you say, I mean, it's a testament to the resort and the company and the culture there for how long people have been there, 40, 50 years. I mean, that's unheard of in the industry.
It's amazing. There's especially in hospitality, you don't see that. It's usually a very high turnover industry. And but yeah, to have people here, celebrating 40, 45, 50 years of service is astounding. And I hope to be there someday too.
Not so fast.
Yeah, I got a few years to go.
Right.
Working till I'm 95.
Well, you can do it. I got faith in you. So give us. I mentioned earlier about the transformation of the courses that it's been through over the years. Give us a little background on that. You've got two courses there, two 18-hole, north and south. If you can, take us back to the beginning. I know you weren't there, but certainly they were much different courses back then than what they are now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the original designs, it was a Dick Wilson and Joe Lee collaboration, and the original 18, was built in 1965, and then throughout the years, two more 9s were added on, and we had the North and the South course for a very long time, really through that PGA Tour and LPGA Tour history. We had some renovations done in 2011 and 2013 where the golf courses were changed to the South course was changed to the Legends course, North course was changed to Champions, and those renovations were done by Peyton Pascuzzo. And then this whole concept of the NCAA, really kind of started in, I want to say like 2016 when Coach Fields from University of Texas and Jeff Shackelford were at the I believe it was the Walker Cup at Los Angeles Country Club. And they just kind of started kicking the idea around of having, the championship at a neutral site and at a place in Southern California that, would allow for primetime television viewing and really predictable weather. And Coach Fields knows our ownership well. They're a University of Texas alum. He pitched the idea, and that's really kind of where it started. Fast forward a few years, we announced the renovation and won the bid for the NCAA championships. We announced that in November of 2019. Obviously, the world kind of turned on its head shortly thereafter in 2020. And so we initially were going to start hosting the NCAA tournament in 2023, but due to COVID, everything was pushed back a year. Our ownership selected Gil Hands to do the renovation of the North course. And he did just an amazing job. The golf course is it's spectacular. And for people that have played it, before the renovation and post, I mean, the one word is wow. It's just, and I've probably toured the golf course 750 times, and I love every hole was changed, and I just love what he did. I mean, he took out a lot of bunkers around the green side, so he added a lot of low-mo areas, which is great for the higher handicap. So it's obviously a golf course that's very stout. It's one of the most challenging courses in Southern California. But at the same time, with 6 sets of tees on the North course, the yardage ranges from 4,500 to 7,500 yards. And with removing about 45 of 90 greenside bunkers, you have a lot more options to play around the greens. Like I use a putter quite a bit. So I like those options, and sand can be difficult. And so I like that you have a few more options to play, and you can pick the right yardage, and you can have a very enjoyable time. I mean, it's obviously a stern test of golf, but it's just fantastic. And we made the decision when this renovation took place to revert back to the original North and South names, because we felt like with this renovation, with the NCAA coming, that it really launched La Costa kind of back into the major tournament golf discussion, which is, I think, exactly where it belongs. So it's been, I kind of have to pinch myself, because I'm so fortunate to be here and to witness this transformation. In addition to the North course, we redid our practice facilities, which are world class. All of our rooms at the resort, we have 600 rooms at the resort, were redone. The meeting space was redone. The spa was redone. So we're really kind of turning over a new leaf at La Costa, and it's been a really exciting time to be here, and that's really why I hope to stay here for a very long time, because it's just a wonderful place.
No, it's awesome. Yeah. So when Gil Hans came in, what was for him, or the people on staff there, what was the main primary focus of the renovation? What needed to be done, and primarily on the North Course, because that or the championship course at the time, but now the North Course. What was the real motivation behind that?
Well, it was due for it needed some love. The irrigation needed to be redone, and so that was a big part of it. We had a lot of like low-lying areas, and in California, like most places, we use reclaimed water. So we struggled with some conditions in low areas with really high salt buildup. But really, he pulled his inspiration from kind of the classic courses in Southern California, the Bel Air Country Club, the Rivieras, the Valley Club of Montecito, kind of drawing back on those amazing designers that, he looked at kind of the surrounding hillside and basically said, like, I want to make the golf course feel like it's been here for forever. And, it's really amazing to see the process. Like, we had hole by hole renderings of the plan changes, and Gil makes a lot of changes in the field, like kind of as he's on site and on, pushing dirt around. Like, so it's really been a great process. I mean, so some of the things, like a really established native area, which has, turf grasses that are indigenous to this area, are drought tolerant, and provide for a good test of golf. Like if anybody's, hopefully y'all tune into the NCAA championships. That'll be on Golf Channel this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the women's championships, and then the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for the men. You'll see the native areas are very defined. It's a beautiful look, and it's very penal if you miss the fairway. But the fairways are also really generous, so you have to hit a pretty wayward shot to miss it. And if you do miss it, you're going to be penalized. The greens were reduced in size, and had some slight undulations added to it, so it really puts a premium on your shot placement. The greens are tricky. They're beautiful bent grass greens, rolling just spectacularly, and you really have to make sure you put the ball in the right place, which I know that's kind of any place in golf, but out here, if you miss the green in some areas, it's really tricky.
Okay, La Costa is going to get quite a bit of TV coverage over the next week or so, and they need to tune in and have a look at what you're all about down there and get a look for themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll be live on Golf Channel. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and then the following week as well. It'll be from 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, so right in that prime time viewing slot for the East Coast, and right when everybody's getting off of work on the West Coast. But the course will look amazing. It's going to be an exciting championship. We actually start the women's championship tomorrow. We just concluded the practice round, so the maintenance team is out doing their thing. Golf Channel booth, announcer booth just got installed behind the 16th green, so we're firing at all cylinders.
That's awesome. How many total players do you have down there from the teams?
So there's 156. There's 156 players to start, and so we have 3 rounds of stroke play. After 3 rounds, there's a cut, and the top 15 teams and top 9 individuals move on to the final round of stroke play. And so on the next week, Monday, we'll crown our individual champion. And then the top 8 teams after Monday move into match play, and they'll play match play in the quarters and semifinals on Tuesday. And then the match play team championship is on Wednesday, which is always a lot of fun, very high drama. And last year, the Stanford women went ahead and got the W, and the Auburn Tigers for the men won. So I think they were both the top ranked teams. So I think the golf course did exactly what we wanted it to do, which is identify the best players, and that certainly happened. And I'm excited for year 2. It's a really fun event. It is a very long event, but it's a lot of fun, and it's just the energy at this property is just incredible, and it's really enjoyable interacting with the athletes, and we're just excited to have another great championship.
Right. Now, real quickly, for anyone that's living down in Southern California or in your area, what's the the entry? Is there a fee to come down and watch, or just how does that work? What's the fan experience?
So the tickets are really affordable. It's $8 for a single day pass for the women, $10 for a single day pass for the men. You can do multi-day passes where you get like a $2 a day discount. So it's really approachable. Free parking when it's off site. We do park spectators on site for the match play days because the crowds are a little bit slower. But really approachable. It's a great experience. We're actually this year trying something different from the spectator experience. We took the rope and stake down so the spectators can actually walk on the fairways with the players, which is something that's very unique. So be able to get up close and personal with the players. Obviously, you got to give them space. But I think that's going to be a really unique aspect of the championship that you don't really see very often. So I'm excited to see what it's like with the gallery out there tomorrow, and I'm anticipating some big crowds. We've got some local schools, USC, UCLA for the women. We've got University of San Diego made it in from a local school, so it's going to be an awesome championship. Pepperdine made it as well from the men. We've actually got a couple of our Costa members that grew up playing here that are playing. So we've got Luke Potter from the University of Texas and Luke Bailey that plays for Pepperdine that'll be playing in the national championship on their home course. So definitely keep an eye on those two names because they certainly have some course knowledge. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, good. I'm going to tune in for sure, and can't wait to see who's on the winner's circle when we come to the end of this thing. So I'm going to bring Ted back in. And,
he's here. He's back.
Ted's lurking in the background.
I'm lurking in the background. Well, I want to thank you, Dustin, for coming on. And obviously, we had a little bit of a glitch there partway through, but I think we got a lot of the important stuff out. But I want to thank you for coming on. And we'll definitely have you back again. But you've got a lot going on there. And as Robert said, you're probably trying to sneak a few holes in before the sun sets. So we'll let you go and enjoy that. But Dustin Irwin, the club director of the Omni La Costa Resort and Spa, getting ready for some great golf this weekend to watch some of the NCAA. So excited for that. And thank you always, Robert, for doing a great job. Welcome back, everybody, and it's time to introduce this evening's featured guest. Joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live is a very special guest, Ken Griffin. He is the Director of Golf Sales and Marketing at Boyne Golf, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about him, and then I'm going to get him here into a very interesting discussion about Boyne Golf. So he's had over 25 years of experience in the winter sports industry. He brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. And after joining Boyne back in 2008, he progressed through the ranks and now focuses on growing the team's golf opportunities year-round, expanding their efforts beyond the strong regional brand that they have enjoyed with the goal of establishing Boyne Golf at a national level, which I think they've done very well. We'll hear more about that. And in his spare time, he enjoys visiting his adult children in Colorado and pursuing his hobbies of snow skiing. I want to talk to him about that, camping, hiking, water skiing, and officiating ski races for the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Association. So, Ken, welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Ken, thanks very much for having me on tonight. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And the last time I had you on, we were doing a audio-only broadcast. This is my first season doing the video podcast. Obviously, I had to step into a little bit more of the modern age, as it were. And always lots of fun doing it. But it's been a lot of fun so far doing it this season. And I'm glad that you were able to come back and join me. And that we actually get to meet sort of face-to-face on camera. So
exactly. Amazing. When we were kids, they told us this was going to happen. We just didn't believe them.
I know. They used to talk about Buck Rogers, too, back then, and we didn't believe them.
Right. Exactly.
And most of the people, young listeners to the won't even know who we were talking about. But so I want to start with you just a little bit, if we don't mind, just to talk a little bit more about you, and then we're going to get into Boyne, of course.
Sure.
What's the best part of your job? What do you enjoy the most about what you do at Boyne?
You know, I through my entire career, and especially the last 16 years at Boyne, if I look back to people that I went to school with and stuff, they kind of say, "Are you ever going to grow up? Are you ever going to get a real job?" Because I sold ski equipment, and I went to work marketing for a ski company, and here I am, like most people that move to ski areas. You know, you might go for the winter, but then you stay for the summer, and then you're hooked. And that you can kind of say that happened with me. You cannot be around the Boyne organization too long, especially in northern Michigan, without falling in love with the area and without falling in love with golf. And I'd have to say that I'm addicted to both now. So I get to ski a great number of days, which has been a passion for a lifetime. And I get out on the course a lot. I kind of split it up two ways. I say that in any given year, I probably play 12 or 15 rounds for myself. And that's what I count. Of course, our pros that see me go through and entertain writers and host tour operators and things, I probably get another 35 to 40 rounds in that I call work. So whenever that's my work-life balance, I'd say that I've got one of the best jobs in the U.S. Oh,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no empathy here. I'll tell you that. That's a great gig if you can get it. You know, that's what's fun. And this is what I enjoy about being in the industry as well. I've been a teaching professional now for over 32 years. And what I really enjoy about it is, I think the people that you meet. I mean, obviously every job you meet a lot of people, but you know, what you're doing specifically, you get to a chance to not just meet people within your own organization. Of course, you get to know them and become friends in many cases over the years at all different levels, but you get to see people coming and going from the resort. Some you're playing with, not just corporate types that are coming to set up an event or coming to host something at Boyne, but you get to see the every regular day folks that just want to come out and enjoy what you guys have to offer. And so it's got to be fun. I mean, from that aspect as well, right?
It's extremely rewarding. I mean, to hear the guest stories and how they found out about us or how many years they've been coming. One of the stories I like to relate to is I was standing out on the patio above Heather 18 a couple of years ago, and I heard a group of 4 ladies asking about a question about the water to hit over the hole. And I said, I don't mean to barge in, but I did hear your question and I have the answer. So as we got to talking, I said, okay, I said, 4 of you from Texas, what? And they're like, oh, well, she's been coming for 15 years. She's been coming for 10. She's been coming for 5. She's the newbie. And I'm like, so you ladies just came up here for the week? And they're like, actually, we came for 2. We brought our husbands the first week and then we sent them packing. And now we're enjoying it ourselves, and we play around today, and we go shopping, and we go to Mac. We do all the activities we want to do. So we had a lot of golf, and then we let the boys go home, and we stay. And those kind of stories are, hit home on what you're talking about.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because, we obviously have seen over the years. It was always sort of a male sport. You saw a lot of the guys going on the buddy trips and things like that. Then you start to see a little bit more couples, but now you're seeing the ladies coming out and they're saying, hey, we're doing a girls trip. And, some of them will certainly do as these ladies have done and bring their husbands for a few days and they send them packing and it's now about them then they really let their hair down and have some fun. And I'm sure there's probably a million stories that you could share. But obviously I want to give you a chance to talk about the facility. But before I do that, I want to ask you, what's the most challenging part of what you do? You've said they're rewarding, but what's the most challenging?
I would say there are 2 challenges. One, in today's market, I mean, when I started my career years ago, it was a lot easier to figure out what channels you were going to market on because you didn't have so many options. Did you want this print or did you want that? Now, where are those people that you want to attract? What are they listening to? So it's twofold. Where are they coming from? If we go back 10 years ago, 80% of our golfers were coming from the Midwest, and the vast majority of those were certainly coming from Michigan. I mean, you could probably say 100% came from the Midwest, and 80% of that was Michigan. We look at it now, 55% of our golfers come from Michigan. So 45% of our golfers have changed in the last 10 years. As we've become more of a national destination. And then you take all these diverse markets all across the U.S. One, how do you get the message out to them, both the people that know you and the people that don't? And then 2, what form of communication do they happen to be listening to at this time? And it varies by age, but not necessarily. I heard it said one time years ago by an editor for Ski Magazine. He goes, I have the best demographic in the world. He goes, they have money. Okay. They're slightly older. And he goes, but they think they're 20. Okay. And I think that also relates to the golfers. I mean, everybody that I know that lives an active outdoor lifestyle, whether it's golfing, whether it's skiing, whether it's any of the things we do, mountain biking, we all think younger. None of us believe we're our age. Sometimes it costs us. Sometimes we spend a little time in the emergency room but at the end of the day, we all have a very young mindset and we're very active. And that not only impacts how we behave, but it also affects what channels of communication we listen to and how you get through to us. And I think that's the second biggest challenge is how do you talk to people nowadays where they want to listen?
Yeah, you have to sort of you have to meet them where they are. And that's a great point that you bring up. And, with the onset of obviously the internet and podcasts like this, where you can bring a visual component in, you get to see the people that you might meet at the resort and in some cases. And you just get a little bit sense of the way you're communicating the messages now compared to what it was, even 10, 15 years ago. It's just amazing. I mean, you can post something up on social media and literally hit millions of people in a matter of an hour or less, depending on where you're putting it.
Right.
And where, to get that kind of audience before, it would take you a lot longer and a lot more expensive. And now it's just a matter of a click of a button and that information is available. And so it makes it very easy. Tell us what is Boyne Golf? Give us your overview of about Boyne Golf. This is your baby. I want you to talk about it.
Okay. Well, I say is that, it starts with 10 extraordinary courses. Okay. Set among 3 incredible resorts, and it's just a great golf vacation spot. I mean, our location in northern Michigan provides us with extremely long days. We're on the far side of the Eastern time zone, and we're just north of the 45th parallel. Well, when you put those two together, we start golfing at 6:30 in the morning. And you can play at this time of the year, you can play till 9:30. In another couple of weeks, you'll be playing till 10 o'clock at night if you want. But you don't have to play golf at 10 o'clock at night. We just say you have the ability to play. So if you're in northern Michigan, you can play from 6:30 till 10 o'clock with sunlight, whether it's golf or whether it's some other play that you want to do. So, the long days are incredible. And our 3 resorts each have their own unique character and feel. At Boyne Highlands, it's really the Highlands, it's really a Scottish thing. Right? It's set in the Scottish Highlands in the motif, and right down to the Scottish cattle that you pass driving in. When you go to Boyne Mountain, it's set in a Bavarian theme. Okay. Wow. So it's a more of a mountain setting down there. And then, at Bay Harbor, you really have a classic lakeside hotel. Think of the Del Coronado. Think of the Sagamore in New York. Think of the Mount Washington. But it's 100 years newer than all those facilities. It's a 125-room Marriott Autograph Hotel. So you have quality courses. You have quality lodging experiences. But the other thing is, 2 things. One is the unmatched terrain variety. Most of the other places you go in the U.S., when you get there, outstanding golf. I mean, and I think of Pinehurst. It doesn't get a lot better than that. There are incredible courses there. Think of Bandit. Incredible courses, incredible views. But the terrain's very similar. I mean, you're looking over the Pacific or you're looking at sand. We have a lot of variety. At Boyne Mountain, it's a 1.2-mile drive to the top of the mountain. And then you play golf back down to a 450-acre lake when all one hole is a downhill hole. Then 18 miles north, just outside of Petoskey, are 3 courses at Bay Harbor and 1 across the street at Crooked Street. Okay? Those are set on Lake Michigan. You have views of 140 miles to Wisconsin. There's nothing in the way. You're just looking across Lake Michigan and you think it's an ocean. And then you go 12 miles north, so 20 minutes from there, you go to the Highlands, and it's set on about 3,500 acres. There's a lot of variety there. You have the original course, the Heather, was the first real resort golf course in northern Michigan. It's the one that really started the America's Summer Golf Capital in northern Michigan. But the Heather was built in an old blueberry bog. Then you go a little bit farther north, and we have the Arthur Hills. That was built in the late 90s. And Arthur built that through, it's his signature course. He built that through pine forest and mountainous terrain. So you go from flat pine forest, old production forest that were never harvested. The cart path is 9 miles long. It's 45 minutes if you don't play golf. And there's one hole on there that it's a 350-foot drop from tee to green, and you're looking at 4,000 acres of Michigan forest, and you cannot see a building. So the variety, all within an 18-mile area. I mean, it's, you know, in our courses, we don't look at it like we have a big 2 and a little 8 or a big 3 and a little 8. Almost anywhere you go, there are some that are just treated a little better. It's all good. Yeah. Our quality across all of them, our superintendents have to meet the same specs, whether it's the course you've never heard about, but you schedule around, or whether it's the course you've been dying to get on whenever you come to Northern Michigan. But our stemp speeds, the terrain, the conditioning is just, we're held to the supers are held to the same standard on every course.
How do you find when it comes, because you've got so many options of courses and that, how do you find balance when it comes to playing? And I'll give you an example here. You know, you get a lot of new people coming to the game that maybe aren't as, you know, their game's not quite up to snuff yet. And they're a little bit intimidated about coming to a big resort like Boyne and saying, okay, yeah, you've got a lot of golf courses there, but, you know, I don't want to look foolish out there. So are some of the courses more challenging for higher caliber players and some maybe a little easier, or are they all pretty accessible? Just you decide what level you want to play at?
That's our goal. Okay, is to every course that we have has at least 6 tee boxes. And we've been saying, and we started this long before USGA started saying move it forward. And it comes from our founder. I mean, Stephen Kircher's our CEO now. He's a scratch golfer, a 1 handicap. His dad got into golf kind of not unlike I did. His friends convinced him that he's got a great opportunity to do golf here. We try not to make them hard. Now, if we have a tournament, our goal is to make all of them tournament quality courses that in 2 or 3 days, the superintendent could get any one of them ready, and they do whenever we have, you know, so we'll bump the stemp speeds a foot or a foot and a half. But our goal is to make it playable. We want you to enjoy your round and come back. Now, how do you find out which one would be best for you? The other thing is whenever you take a look at on the website, you don't find a place to book a golf package on the website. We say, please call and talk to one of our guest experience agents, because they all have a ton of experience. There are no new people there. There's nobody taking golf calls that hasn't worked there for 3 to 5 years, and most of them were like 15 to 20. They know the courses. They'll ask you more questions and tell you where you need to go, and they'll try and help build out your itinerary based on, you know, what type of golf you like, whether you like it more open or whether you like it tighter, whether you want more dog legs or whether you want to, you know, the Arthur Hills course, you can land a 747 on it. So you tell us what type of golf you're looking for, and we have the variety that they can try and match it for you. And you know, then you get to enjoy your round.
You know, and that's a really great point, Ken, that you raised, because that's you know, from people that I've talked to over the years that have gone to a resort type facility, and that was one of their pet peeves is, you know what, I want to be able to come and enjoy it. I want to, you know, enjoy some of the many other amenities, but the courses are just too challenging for me. And you know, I mean, it's more than just you know, increasing the speed of the greens and things like that. You really have to know the area very well. And I like the fact that you can't just go on there and book whatever you want. You've got to speak to somebody that has experience, because in that way they can sort of walk you through, they can assess what it is that you're looking for, what type of experience, and they can tailor and customize something, obviously that's within your budget, but also within your wheelhouse of, you know, either expertise or lack thereof. And that's a big selling feature, especially going to a national awareness, if you will, that Boyne is doing now. And that's important. A lot of people are looking for, especially the new people to the game. That's what they're wanting.
Yeah, well, we
had
to
you and your staff.
Thanks. We had to defend that a couple of years ago. We had a new CMO came in, And he's like, well, everything's online now. You just need to put everything online. And we're like, well, wait, we have over 3,000 beds. We have 120 room types. We have 10 courses. They're not all sitting exactly beside each other. And we're like, we don't let anybody take calls for us until they've done it for 3 years. What would make you think somebody could go online in an evening and in 20 minutes book an experience? Could they do it? Yes. But would they ever come back? Would they really create the memories that they want to create for these golf trips of a lifetime? And he's like, well, that's a really good point. I hadn't looked at it that way. We were trying to make it easy on the front end. And we're like, well, but if somebody's going to come, our average night stay is 4 days for a golf trip, just because we have so many courses. Then it goes to 5, then it goes to 3. But the thing we find is whenever you're planning longer vacations, it's worth taking a little bit of time. It's worth planning earlier. You're looking farther ahead, and you're willing to take the time to plan a better vacation.
Yeah, and as I said, that's important, I think, for a lot of people. And you're seeing more and more couples. It's not just the guys going to play, and it's not even just the girls going to play. A lot of couples want to come. They want to make it not just about golf. I mean, obviously, golf is a big part of it. But I liked what you said earlier. You talked about really a lot of the different experiences that they're gonna see when they come into your properties, and there's a lot of history there as well. So people like to investigate when they come to a resort. They want to have an experience. Not everybody, I mean, obviously they want to tee it up and have that experience as well. But they want to have other experiences, and it sounds like there's a lot of history behind Boyne that they can explore and learn more about and see for themselves, and the different elevations and things like that. And that's something you can't always get from a brochure or from a website. It's you got to have somebody that's been there and has a very good understanding of what to expect, because people visualize things in their mind. I've planned trips myself and got there and was disappointed because I thought, well, I didn't really know as much as I thought I did. And so I like the sort of the more customer care, as I would put it, that you're putting into your experience, and rightly so. You're a big organization. You're not small potatoes. So let's talk about something exciting here for a second that you guys, and not say that it was. Don't let me rephrase that. Something even more exciting, and that is the recognition by USA Today. You guys had some big news in April. You guys were recognized. Their 10 best awards named Boyne Golf as the #1 golf resort destination in the U.S. for 2025. That's got to be exciting. Talk about that.
It's extremely exciting. And in large part, that was helped by whenever, they did a number of categories. They did courses, they did resorts. The Highlands was the #2 resort, right behind Big Cedar, So I take a look at the top 10, and I always look at, okay, what's the validity? Look at the top 10 that were into voting. So it's great courses and great company to be considered, and we're humbled by it. But that also helped us, and we do believe we're one of the top golf destinations in the U.S. And it is very humbling, but it's also very rewarding, especially for the team that works so hard to produce it. The marketing guy has the easiest job in the world. I just have to get you there once. And once you experience it, what they produced, and you're like, how did I not know about this? And that's like, well, because the marketing guy wasn't doing a good enough job, or you've been knowing about it 5 years ago.
Right.
But it's really just, it does confirm the national awareness. We've been fortunate. We've hosted golfers from 48 states each of the last 3 years. It'd be no surprise if I told your listeners that, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois are top 4. But whenever I then say that Texas, Florida, Arizona, Colorado are all also in the top 10, Missouri, I mean, those are the ones that, like, really. And we've been helped a lot too over the course of the last 6 or 7 years. Traverse City's airport's an hour and a half max from our courses, from the farthest course. And they now have direct flights from 20 U.S. cities. So the accessibility, it isn't just an 8-hour drive around the Midwest, but the accessibility there, or even we made an upgrade to our airport. So those that have access to private jets, we did a $4 million upgrade. The airport sits about 1,000 feet from the hotel at Boyne Mountain. And we can put an 85,000-pound, 16-passenger jet down in all weather on that airport now. So those accessibility and quality courses, and though, it's remember somebody said a long time ago, after 7 or 8 years, we're an overnight success. But, it takes time, build slowly, but it's good foundational growth that people learn, they tell their friends, and we think that's a strong way that people learn about ourselves.
Yeah, and I think it's like anything. If you build it, they will come, and then once they do, in order to keep them there and have them coming back, it's not. I mean, you can have the prettiest property, you can have the most amazing property, but it's the people too that work around your facilities and the different levels and different jobs and that sort of thing that make it like almost like coming to a family resort, if you will, in the sense that everybody's there to help you, everybody's there to make sure it's a wonderful experience that you're going to want to come back again. And this brings me to you touched on a few things, you mentioned some of the other areas, but Boyne is obviously more than just golf. You have so many other things. I mean, golf is really just scratching the surface. So talk about, there's obviously, Bay Harbor and Harbor Springs and all that sort of stuff and some great shopping. What are some of the other things that people come there besides great golf and a great hotel? What else is there to do at Boyne?
Well, you could come and stay at any one of the 3 properties and spend 4 to 5 days or a week. And you'd probably check it off the list, like a bucket list. Okay, been there, done that. We're a little different. A lot of places want you to do that. The invisible barrier, you don't really need to go down. Actually, we encourage it. We have tremendous lakeside towns in Boyne City and Walloon Lake and Petoskey and Harbor Springs. And we do a lot of training with our staff. But I'm not sure. I mean, we reinforce it. But even the local community, they embrace tourism. They embrace people coming in. They love where they live. They've made life choices to come to Northern Michigan and do this instead of maybe doing that. But they love where they live. They love to share it with other people to come. And, I learned a long time ago, somebody said, what makes Boyne great? Is it because of the golf or because of the ski or because of this? And I said, no, I think Boyne, it took me a few years working for him, even after calling on him for a long time. And it was that Boyne is really good at hiring people that have a passion for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then Boyne gives them the resources to share their passion with all of the guests. And it's a pretty great combination when those that are working for you share the love. I use zip line as an example because we have zip lines at both property, and those guys fly those zip lines 3 times a day. And they're as excited at the 3rd trip at the end of the day, at the end of the summer as they are. And I said, yeah, they're passionate about it. They have a passion about that. If you took them over here, if you took them over and put them on a golf course driving a lawnmower, they may not like that. But if you find the right slot for them and they can share what they love with other people, I think it's a winning combination.
Oh yeah, if you put and it is really about finding the right experience for each person that working at Boyne, because you're right. When somebody steps into the right slot for them, they're going to talk about it with everybody. I mean, they're going to be so excited, and they're going to, to the point where you're going to say, wow, even if you don't zip line, even if you don't, that sounds great.
I should do that.
I got to try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should do that. Same with the skiing, hey, I'm going to do the skiing too. But, so, and that's what you want. You want people that are passionate, and it's not just, well, you go over here and you go over there. They're actually excited. It's almost like they're a guest. They're saying, hey, I just love it here. Here's why. And when you're here, make sure you go into town and you check this out and stuff like that. And that again says a lot, because again, you can have the prettiest resort on the block, but it's the people that work there, the passion that they bring to that work every single day. And, I know it sounds a little bit, over the top a little bit, but the truth of the matter is, if you really enjoy what you're doing, it's not a job.
Exactly.
And that's what it sounds to me like what you're experiencing at Boyne, not just for yourself, but for everybody else. And when it's not a job, then everybody like me and everybody else out there is jealous, because we're saying, why can't I have a job like that? Yeah. And that's what you want. You want that feeling of people coming up there and just diving into the experience and being as excited about it as you are, and not just looking through a brochure and saying, okay, that looks cool, let me check that out. They want to hear it in your voice. And when they hear it in your voice, that gets them jazzed up and gets them excited and makes them want to come back even more and explore it. And, but yeah, I think that's fantastic. What are some of the other things? If I'm coming to Boyne, obviously the golf and driving into town, what are some of what dining experience? That's something too.
We encourage you. I mean, we have, like I said, you could base your vacation and stay there because we have multiple restaurants at each of our facilities. And the Inn at Bay Harbor is also attached to a 30-acre yacht basin that's right there with its own little village and things. But really, we encourage you to get off campus because instead of saying, well, you try this restaurant, not that one, we're like, have you been to Harbor Springs yet? Okay, you've eaten at the country club and you've eaten at the dining room here and you've had breakfast here. Why don't you go, it's 10 minutes away. Why don't you go down? Because what we found is instead of checking every box off maybe at the resort, that you all of a sudden you go to town and this whole new world opens up about how cool just the area is. And it happens at all three properties and crosses over. So that you find things in town and you do things that you really enjoy. You pick what you want to do. Now, that may mean there's a couple things on your list that aren't checked at the resort. And there's probably even a bigger list of that resort or one of the other resorts that you didn't get to do. Or maybe you didn't get to make a trip to Mackinac Island because you did so many things. Mackinac Island is a great destination that's only 45 minutes from the Highlands. Kind of where Catalina meets Midwestern values, I say. But you have to walk. It's an old historic island. There was a fort right in the middle of two Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. But, those things that you don't get to check, that's what's going to drive you back for another vacation. And that's what we want you to come once. There are plenty of things to do that you're not going to get bored. I mean, I personally know people that have been coming for 20 years. That's not everybody. I know people that come every 2 to 3 years. That's fine. But experience what we have, experience the things around us that everybody that works for us loves, and we think you will too.
Yeah, and again, that's really what you want is you want people to not just, you're never going to, I don't care where you go, you're never going to experience everything all at once. But at the same time, you want to leave them wanting more and saying, you know what, I had a great time. We had a great experience, boy, but there was still lots left to see. Maybe we need to come back next year. Or maybe we need to come back in the fall. Let's see what it looks like here in the fall. Those types of things. You want them to have that sort of mindset and you know what, maybe they can't come back for a couple of years. That's okay. But the idea is they want to come back because they had such a great experience. And, obviously you've got some golfers out there that, maybe make it their bucket list every year. We got to play Boyne this year. Let's get the guys together and let's go. And so you want to have that too. What's on tap for the summer? What's coming up this summer? Any special events?
Well, we've got a few things. First of all, we've been working on for a couple of years is the opening of a new 9-hole short course, Dune Bray. To our knowledge, it's the first golf course built on a ski hill, first 9-hill short course. It is sitting on the lower slopes. That's why it's not open yet. We were waiting for the snow to melt off down on the lower slopes. But it's a new 9-hole short course laid out, inspired by greens. Ray Hearn was the architect, inspired by courses and holes that he played. And actually, some of them our CEO, when he was in school, played with Ray Hearn whenever he was a professor at Michigan State. Winnie Bray and the postage stamp. And so what they are 70% full, 70 to 80% full-size greens with shortened fairways. I mean, your fairways are 57 to 150 yards is the longest fairway. And then we have a 27-hole Himalayan putting area beside it. We're also in early June, coming up here pretty quick. We annually host the Adidas State Pro-Am up at the Highlands. Early July, we annually host AJGA Coca-Cola Championships. I think this is year 22 or 23 for it. And then we also have our Tournament Champions, very unique. I wish your listeners could play in it. Unless they live in Michigan and want a championship, they can't. But it's Michigan Championships. Men, women, juniors, seniors, amateurs, pros, all levels. No handicap. They play from different tees. That's the only thing.
Oh, wow.
We've had women win it. One woman won it. We've had numerous women in the top 10. And a lot of people that come back to play in it as former Michigan champions, they're either on the Corn Ferry Tour or they've played PGA. I mean, it's a very stiff field. Michigan's, with 859 courses, Michigan's a pretty good state for golf. And especially in just a short season, I think we are number 3 in rounds played, 3 or 4 overall. And when you think about it, that we only really play from mid-April. I mean, we open our courses late April, early May, and we shut down in middle October. So that's kind of the window you look at. But, and then also take a step back. In mid-June, we're going to host the Epson Tour for an event on the Heather. The Heather's kind of our first course is still our best championship course for that type of play. It's a Robert Trent Jones Sr. course that was developed in 1966.
Wow. And so you've actually got 2 LPGA events, is that correct, that are going to be I know you've done a number of
just the Pro-Am now. Michigan and I think best, we always say June is golf month in Michigan, and I think we can be more specific. In Michigan, in the month of June, we have 5 women's professional events. There are 3 Epson Tour events. We host the middle one on the tour. The state of Michigan actually is putting in a kicker. There's a pure Michigan championship for those 3 events. And then we have 2 LPGA events, one around Grand Rapids and one in Midland in the middle of the Lower Peninsula. So 5 women's professional events in the month of June in the state of Michigan. So a lot of good golf that people can watch.
Tell us about the new short course. Now you're talking about the putting, right? That was the 27.
There's a 9-hole short course, and then right beside it is an 1.5 acre putting course. So we call it the backyard, YAIRD, in our hearken to our Scottish heritage. Yeah. So
now that is open, or that is open?
It will open in about 3 weeks. June 6th.
Okay.
Is the opening date.
So tell us about that. That's obviously very unique as well. Tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about? Why did you guys decide to do that?
Well, short courses over the last few years have become more and more popular. And we knew we wanted to put one in. In fact, we're also developing one. We in addition to the 10, 18-hole courses we have in Michigan, we also, Boyne is pretty big in golf. But in ski, we're actually the 3rd biggest ski company in the United States behind Vail and Alterra. So we also own 11 ski areas across the U.S., including the 2 in Michigan. But we own Sunday River, Maine, and Sugarloaf, Maine, and Big Sky, Montana. So we have courses at those. We're also developing a 9-hole short course at Sugarloaf, in addition to the one at the Highlands. In all honesty, it's about 2 years behind where we thought we were going to be with opening it up, because, like I said, it's set on a ski slope, and we made plans after COVID to put in a new 6-passenger high-speed lift that goes right over top of the course in the wintertime. Well, it didn't make sense to build a course and then dig it all up to put chairlift towers in. So we actually waited till we put the chairlift in, and then broke ground 1.5 years ago on the new short course. So it's very unique. The only hole you can see is hole number 1. There's fescue around all the holes, and you can see the fairway for number 1 in the first hole. And after that, every hole in the fairway are hidden by fescue. You have to be on the hole to see the hole.
Right.
And when you're standing at the bottom, all you see are a bunch of, we had a couple of days of test play last fall with members just to catch the flow. So by the time we opened to the public, we had a better idea of what would happen. But something we didn't expect was as people were walking, all you see are these people moving about on the course from their knees up.
Oh,
as you look up the hill. So
right.
And you don't walk up and down the hill. Okay. So I know a lot of people have that idea. So there is a little, up 2 and down 3 and a little bit of up, but then you really zigzag back and forth across. Ray designed a great layout that didn't work its way, up and down the hill every hole. But rather it just works back and forth and ends seamlessly right back close to where you started. So.
Now you have a season you said sort of comes around about mid to late April, early May, and then ends about mid October, I think you said.
Yep.
If somebody wanted to come the first time, what's the best time? I know obviously in that window is any good time, but if you were the one talking to them, what would you recommend? Say you got to come around this time. I think you'll enjoy it the most.
If somebody's coming and traveling from a distance, I say that anytime between Memorial Day and the 25th of September to maybe the 1st of October. We have one course that will shut down the last week just because we don't have as many golfers. We don't need 10 courses open by that time of the year.
Right.
But then we really, after the first weekend in October, we'll shut down 3 courses. And then the next week we'll shut down 3 courses. We just work our way, 3 or 4 courses at a time until we have 1 or 2 open. And then we'll close that third week of October. But if you're in those windows, that's probably your safest bet for your best. And, the busiest times, the hardest times to get times are June and July. Weekends, you need to look early. Before we opened the golf course this year, we had 75% of our room nights from last year on the books, and or actually about 90% of the room nights and about 75% of the golf. So, it books ahead. We do still have openings. That's one advantage of having 3 resorts with 3,000 beds. So it's not that we're full for the year, but for the best opportunities and the lowest pricing. The earlier you book, the better off it's going to be whenever somebody's looking. It's your best opportunity to lay out the schedule you're looking for and not be dictated by, we actually are booking 2026 right now. We just started. Now, so if somebody wants to take a look that far ahead and they're ready to plan that far ahead, we're ready to take a look with them that far ahead. But, it gives you those are great times. Now, the secret is the time that is in a great time to play golf and isn't as busy is probably the last 2 weeks of August. Okay. Our schools start in September, and everybody goes, well, you don't get busy, it slows down when school starts. And I'm like, well, when does school really start? You think of everybody with an active outdoor lifestyle. School doesn't start when you sit in a class. It starts when band, cheerleaders, football, soccer, when all the team activities, so somewhere between the 10th and the 15th of August, there are just people that have other life commitments, and those are great times to look for secret openings on courses even now.
Yeah, and again, it goes to being able to reach out to your staff and the folks at Boyne to be able to best guide them, for whatever meets their needs and that. What about just one last thing I wanted to ask you, and then we'll give them that website so they can at least go and check some of the things we've been talking about out. Are there any festivals or any special events that go on through the season that people may want to plan their trip around? Is there things going on in some of the local towns or even on the resort itself? Any sort of you don't have to talk about any events? Oh yeah, besides golf events,
there certainly are. Obviously too many for us to list or talk about, not just a big one. But we actually, because like I said, we encourage you to get off property to do some of those things. If you look, we have links to the area visitors bureaus that will tell you if you're choosing a resort, if you're choosing Harbor Springs, or if you're choosing Costa or Boyne area, then there are links on our website to see everything that's going on locally that you might want to take advantage of too. So there are partners in our guests having a good time. So we want to try, and that's why we say, just go to BoyneGolf.com because you can learn about all 10 courses. You can learn about Dunebray in the backyard. You can learn about flights and how to get there from different distances. And you can learn about the local towns and the local activities. And, what we haven't mentioned yet is our own Boyne Golf Academy. I mean, at the Highlands, there's a 32-acre practice facility. There are very few 32-acre practice facilities. The mountain's a little smaller. It's only 25. But, I mean, we have Sports AI. We have Gears. We have TrackMan. In fact, 32-acre facility has a TrackMan range on it. So we are invested in continuing to grow the sport and people enjoy themselves. I know that the Golf Academy is not for everybody, but for those that are, we have an award-winning Golf Academy that people can take advantage of. And as we talked about, women coming, men coming, couples coming, that kind of thing. That's really made our Golf Academy way more diverse to meet those needs. Those are our guests that are coming, but we used to do a Nike camp. Now we do our own in-house camp because we have enough staff to do that. So we have a junior camp. The kids come. We used to stay off property. Now, instead of that, they stay with their parents. Parents play golf all week. Kids are in our Golf Academy camp. We also have couples. We also have women's. And a traditional golf weekend. So,
well, and it makes sense too. I mean, if you want to come to somewhere like Boyne and you want to, especially if you're fairly new to the game and you want to, get the best experience of it, going to the academy makes perfect sense. Or if you need a bit of a tune-up in your game, maybe you haven't picked up a club for a little while. There's a lot of those guys out there, some of the older guys particularly that maybe haven't played as much golf recently and but want to get back into the game. That's a great opportunity for them as well. So yeah, that's a great point that you raised. Final thoughts before we wrap up, and then we'll give them the website and let them go to town.
Yeah, well, I mean, just if you have played our courses, then I think you'll understand what we've been talking about. If you haven't played our courses, take the opportunity to do it. I mean, we like I said, there's 650 public courses. There's 850 courses total in Michigan. We think we have some of the best golf in the state and in the Midwest, if not the nation. And we think that the state makes us be better at it because we have all these courses. Sometimes it's harder to get guys from Grand Rapids to come play because of everything they drive by than it is to get somebody on a plane in Arizona that's willing to come and play us. But come enjoy it. Flights are easy. Tremendous facilities, tremendous amount of variety. You can have whatever type of lodging you're looking for, and the experience both on the course, on the resort, or off the resort that you're looking for. A vacation, it can be golf-centric, but not just golf-specific.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ken, thank you very much for coming on. It was great to, again, sort of meet you face to face. And
exactly.
I'm looking forward to coming up. I promise you I'm going to make it up. I know you've invited me in the past, and it's just a matter of carving out some time for me. So I'll have to make that happen. Hopefully I can do it this year. I'm going to be praying that I can do it this year.
We hope so too.
I want to thank you I want to thank you very much. Ken Griffin, the Director of Golf Sales and Marketing at Boyne Golf, has been speaking with me for the last little bit about not just the great property, great golf and skiing and zip lines and all these other great things that are going on in that area. And Michigan is a beautiful state. I've been there many times over the years. Haven't been to Boyne yet, but I'm going to make a point of going there. So I think you should too. And if you want to get more information and just see a little bit about what we've been talking about, you can go to their website, boynegolf.com. That's boynegolf.com, and it's spelled BOYNE golf.com. But Ken, thank you very much. If you can hang tight, I'm just going to wrap up real quick here, and then we'll be done with the broadcast. I want to thank also my other special guest, Jon Decker, and also Robert Kaufman, and also Dustin Irwin for joining me a little bit earlier on in the broadcast. And again, my special featured guest tonight, Ken Griffin from Boyne Golf. Ken, thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I hope you come back and visit me again. And I'll see all of you next time here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.